right.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi there, and welcome to Paladin Cigars Entertainment. We have a very special guest, Cody Wayne. As
Every time he's a special guest.
Exactly.
Like,
That's gonna be it. That's gonna.
Yeah.
Well, because he is special, and he's
Yeah,
not a guest.
sure.
A
never-
friend, brother.
Right.
You never have anybody else on this podcast is like, in this week's special guest.
Yeah, guest starring Cody.
Same dude as every other week.
Yes, exactly. So we're talking about Hamilton today. It's the Broadway play, obviously.
Yes.
It's been around for what, 4 or 5 years already.
Something like that. I just found out about it myself,
Well,
so kind of
right?
catch as
And I
can.
feel like that all of us bumpkins that can't afford or know about the whole Broadway scene, we have to wait until it hits a streaming service.
Ooh.
And now,
Thank you, streaming services.
yeah, right? And now it's like this cultural, I mean, it was always looking up about it. It was like a cultural phenomenon beforehand.
Yeah.
But now everybody gets it. It's not just like the New Yorkers or
Yeah.
the people that actually like sit down and listen to just a Broadway musical.
Yeah.
So is this about Alexander Hamilton? Like,
You watched it, you know. Don't act like Matt's like, yeah, the music was cool, but who are these
I
people?
don't know. I don't know. What are they talking about? Revolution? What revolution?
Oh man.
So it was Hamilton. I'm just gonna go out. I'm gonna be the first to say it. The production value was fantastic. The writing value was very nice.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about creative license a little bit later on, but
Sure.
overall the production is the actors and actresses on stage phenomenal.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
It was super entertaining.
Pleasing to the
Yes,
eye.
Yes.
Right.
Very clever. Very clever. Genius.
For sure. Yeah. Super enjoyed it.
Well, I'm glad
Well,
that's it's
and
unanimous.
you can look into a lot of the guy that wrote it, Lin-Manuel Miranda. He did a lot of stuff going up to this. I guess he actually performed at the White House once under the Obama administration as like
no
his like a
kidding.
little he had his freestyle kind of rap troupe, open mic group of people,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how he got his start. There's a lot of information out there, obviously, about that. Really cool guy to watch him in interviews. He seems like a good soul. But I thought and I'm just going to go out and say it, that while I found it very entertaining, thought the music got a little repetitive. And I get that it was a 2.5 hour, 2 hour and 40-minute production.
Yeah.
So to have that much music that it's going to get a little same, it's like listening to, there aren't many artists out there that I can just listen to their entire album.
Yeah.
So I guess that it's difficult for,
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that? I mean, were you gripped by the music the whole time?
Yeah, no, like, there weren't a lot of, like, I really liked the music in it. I agree, it kind of feels repetitive. There was a few songs that really stuck out to me.
Oh, sure.
And whatnot, like, but there's just so much going on. You have to pay attention. It really doesn't slow down, especially that first half. And a really good friend told me that like one of the main reasons why they added in the part with King George, right, was to, like, that whole part was so much slower, and what it did naturally was it broke some of that stuff up, so it gave us time to process all the other stuff that we had just seen.
Sure.
So everything is moving really fast, and if you're not paying attention, you're going to really miss it,
Yeah.
And then they come along with a couple of numbers like that are much slower, and helps you slow down and really process what you just saw, and helps you transition to the next. I
Sure.
don't think if that wasn't in there, it'd have been really hard.
Right, and I
to
mean,
be
King,
so
King
up
George,
here
yeah,
the whole
Yeah,
time.
he's my favorite part.
no, right, and King George
best.
was a lot of people's favorite part. I went on YouTube and looked up one of his songs, and the guy that says, the comment says, King George was my favorite part. Is that wrong? And it gets 12,000 up likes. I've never seen a comment get that many likes.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was part of the reason that people liked King George, is because it switched up and it slowed things down. And to me, it was just a different style of music that broke up everything
Yes.
else. And I think that made it enjoyable.
So-
and I would have liked to see more of that, honestly.
Yeah.
Perhaps consider this: the majority of the film, besides a few really, like Cody said, a few key points, a lot of it is in like rap style verse,
Yeah.
like
Rap
it's
R&B.
lyrical verse. So it's really difficult, I think, to break away from that because you're setting this tempo
Yeah.
for the entire. Where a couple of times, I mean, some of the female actresses, I guess some of the female actresses, they broke away and they sang like George Washington's character at one point.
Yeah.
He breaks into actual song, which was different than what a lot of had been going on because
Right.
everyone else is just rapping. And it's very clever and it's very well done. But again, I think that that's maybe where a lot of maybe the aggravation comes from is this tempo is set with that, and then that builds the repetitive nature of.
Yeah, well, and we definitely watched with subtitles, just so, I mean, so you can read along and you're like, what? Wait, what are they saying? You're like, oh, okay, this is what they're talking about.
Yeah, but then it's tough, like, because then you have the subtitles on, and like, how much of the production are you missing? Like,
No,
'cause you
right,
have to.
exactly, yeah.
It's one of those like trade-offs.
I've tried to get good at the whole subtitle watching theory and like watching as much as you can, and you're like, wait, I didn't hear what he said there. Now read the subtitles. Use it as like a
Right.
secondary backup. I think that is
Yes.
the art of subtitles, not to just get. It's like breasts. You just can't stare at them incessantly.
Yes.
You gotta.
You heard it
gotta
here.
go
You heard
hands
it
up.
here, folks.
Yeah,
Folks,
right.
This is the art of subtitle reading linked with.
Well, I
my
actually got that
gosh.
from a meme where it's like, like some chesty woman, and it's like the movie, and it's like the subtitles.
Jesus.
Blame the internet, not me.
Well, but-
Wait, this is going on the internet.
Yeah,
Hold on.
hate the game, not the player.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, entertainment, all of that. So we're all on kind of the same page. Pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
worth watching, right?
Absolutely.
That it wasn't like they did like Lin Miranda just stole 2 hours and 40 minutes
Right.
of my life.
It's
right?
just it's crazy because it's 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and it feels like it was rushed. Like they were just moving so quick. The energy was just so high.
Well, I mean, it was
And
like a
of course
guy's life.
Yeah,
I mean, big part of history there.
Absolutely.
I love the intermission, and I get that it was like a live production, but that they kept that in the streaming version.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, man, hey, Avengers Endgame, like all of these other movies that are 3 hours, like bring back the intermission. That's
Yes.
pretty dope.
Yes, I know.
Restroom break would have been nice.
Break would have been.
Well, we got it in this one.
You're here.
Like,
Right. Obviously, okay, the a big thing that comes up, and I am genuinely that idiot that was like, oh well, the main character, he kind of looks like maybe a tan guy that spent a little bit too much time in the Caribbean, and I didn't know about the whole racial reversal of the all the characters, and so I literally was like, oh damn, I didn't know Aaron Burr was black.
I was gonna say I thought that was pretty obvious from the get go. Like it was evident.
Yeah, okay, and I mean, but I genuinely I didn't know, and I'm like, well, maybe they did, but I think that's fair, and like I read one thing that like a lot of people back in the day, we used to, a bunch of white people would get up and play like, oh well, this is a black character,
Yeah.
but instead of having a black guy play it, we're just gonna either blackface back in the day, which is like yeah, shouldn't do that, Cody.
Good differentiator there, though, Aaron. Look at that mastery of
Bravo.
the English language.
you making me
Mastery.
sound like the asshole.
Or like on next episode, Cody attempts to blackface. Oh, he just bursts into flames like, oh shit. Oh gosh.
You know what? I will tell you one thing about that is, I don't know. It is interesting the way that we see stuff like that in the United States, and that it's like that's even a question or an issue, right? Where people are like, these men and women on this stage are as talented as it gets.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're still playing on the whole identity of like what color their skin is, and the fact that it was done for a specific reason is even more that I'm kind of like, to me that's it. When I heard that, it kind of saddened me a little bit, because it's not like.
But at the same time, do you feel like that is, I feel like the argument there is that a good thing, that it's going to get more people of that culture like a young black kid is gonna be like, oh, cool, Hamilton. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
just watching a bunch of crackers dancing around in, tights, but like this is something I can relate to now. It's
Yeah.
written in rap style. It's played by actors that I
Yes.
could probably get along with, maybe or maybe not, but I could probably like there would be immediately that connection.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I think
100%.
yeah, that is a great point. That's a great point, and I think I think that more.
But he doesn't like it.
Well, no. I'm just saying. I think it's. I don't say that I didn't like it. I said I think it's sad that we have to make those distinctions. Still,
Oh.
we still have
sure.
to make the
Well,
distinctions of saying.
yeah, that's a much deeper conversation.
yeah,
but I
yeah.
get what you're saying.
Right,
I do
yeah.
that.
Right.
Well, but at the same time, I feel like as a minority group, that is something that still has to be more thought out as far as like it was intentional for them to use that casting. It's not like oh well,
Yeah.
I mean, right?
It's not like just to prove a point. You know what I mean? It's not like unpopular opinion, but like Ghostbusters with the whole female cast. You know.
What are you
Which
talking about?
initially, like, there's a purpose behind all of that. You know what I mean? Like that agenda.
You're
Yes.
saying
I
that-
didn't even
yeah, right.
believe it at
Yeah.
first until
Yeah.
I watched the movie and I was like, okay, yeah, so it is.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing inherently wrong with flipping the script like that. And doing
Correct.
it full.
Correct.
I don't think that's inherently
Yeah.
a negative
Right.
thing.
Right.
But I didn't feel like when I was watching it there was some agenda, like they're trying to get me to,
No.
view or see
No.
anything in
Yeah.
history.
Agreed.
Because that's like in reality, like if we look at it, we're all Americans. Like even though they do definitely take some liberties with the story, like this is as much as like the story of my roots as it is your roots or yours or his roots.
Because it's
Like,
America's
these
roots.
people, yeah.
Yeah.
So
If
they're
you're a
not
citizen-
identifying. It's not like this is black roots or this is white roots. No, this is American roots, and everybody has an equal stake in that, and it is part of all of our history.
Yep. Yep.
Not
Yeah,
just,
no, exactly. Well, right, and he was one of his quotes that I kind of like, and I kind of questioned it he's like, it was made about America then by America now. So that and
Yeah.
admittedly, okay, there's still, I don't want to say there's still just statistically speaking, there's still a lot more white people in America than anybody else. That's why we're the majority, right? And right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not saying that that's good, but I'm just saying that that's just a fact. It's just how it is right now. But at the same time, I think that goes back to the idea that it's like we're all part of this, and we're all because I have as much to do with the founding fathers as anybody else right now.
Yes, correct.
I mean,
Like the old term, I don't know them from Adam. It's like, yep, that's pretty much true for all of us.
Yeah.
I can't trace my lineage back to, Thomas Jefferson or George Washington or any of those dudes.
Yeah, right.
I'm not descended, but we all are kind of grafted in, like the Bible would have it, by this legacy of belief. And that was one of the things that I was a little disappointed, and I can't say in a secular reproduction that I was expecting anything more, but it's like this Hamilton was a deeply devoted Christian man. Like, despite the fact that he cheated on his wife and all of this other stuff,
Christians do bad things.
well, yeah, absolutely. No, but
Damn sure.
but when you read his writings and you read some of he was deeply Christian, and he was the whole point for Alexander Hamilton to propose larger government is because he wanted the government to be the moral tone, set the moral tone for the rest of the country, and say, look, we all need to be moral so that the rest of the country can follow suit and be moral. But you can only do that through a strong central government.
Yeah.
And I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent, they have their different ideologies. And I mean, I'm a Jeffersonian. I side more with him. I think that the states' rights, the individuality, that rules the day. But again, a lot of what Hamilton said, he wasn't. I don't want to say he wasn't wrong. I just don't think he saw far enough into the future to view some of what's going on.
Yeah, well, because
What would happen?
the government and the population and all of that was still pretty small back then.
Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
everybody kind of knew each other,
Yeah.
whereas now it's just this huge bloated machine.
Like, and talk about small. Like, it blew me away because it could never happen in our day and age. But what's his name? I can't remember all of the characters' names. Becomes vice president after Jefferson becomes president.
Oh yeah.
And he's the vice president, and he goes into a duel.
Oh,
and
yeah.
kills.
Aaron Burr.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Killed Alexander.
Not really. It's
They tell you like
300-year-old
at the
history.
That's what I love is like at the beginning of it, they give you a whole preview of what you're about to see, and in the very first 5 minutes, he's like, he was killed by me. Like, he did it.
But does nobody remember the Got Milk commercial years
No.
ago where the guy's like, he's like in a museum and he's eating this peanut butter sandwich and he's like, puts it in his mouth and he's like, and it's like chewing it up and it's like, you're like, and today's trivia question for $10,000, it's like, who shot Alexander Hamilton? And it like flashes around in the museum and it's like the duel. It's like the bullet. and it's like A. Burr's gun. and he's like, and it's like, got milk.
It was just so crazy to learn that because I'm gonna be honest with you, like I wasn't up to date, freshed up on my history for this at all. So just to think that a vice president
Sure.
like get into a duel and kill a dude and still hold his office, like can you imagine Mike Pence like whipping Hillary Clinton out there in the street? And
Dude, that would be great, man.
Dick Cheney came pretty
Right?
close.
I would love that. Yeah, right?
Like,
That's
sorry,
so
Mr. Cheney.
You know, an aspect that I didn't know that they changed that I really enjoyed, and I'm like, oh man, that would be kind of cool as far as making the parties have to work together, but that like the runner-up
Yes.
like
Yeah.
was
Yes.
the vice president, so it's like, oh hey, this guy wins now. The other guy is now your running mate. Like now he's the vice president, and I don't want to say that would maybe lead to assassination or something later. That they're like, oh my God, like okay, we got Obama and like we really want Biden or whatever. But
Well, they theorize that's what the assassination attempt on Reagan was. Is it was old man Bush trying to nick him because he was vice president.
oh yeah, I
what
can
is
see that.
Even conspiracy stuff with JFK, and it was LBJ.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Or at least he knew.
Right.
Like my dad said, he looked like the cat and the canary, like the cat that ate the canary afterwards. He's just like. Back to Hamilton though.
Yeah,
right.
I love the fact that that they were all upset that it's like, oh man, we're either gonna have Aaron Burr or Jefferson as the president. And they're like, oh man, like neither of these choices are great.
Yeah.
And you're like, fast forward today, like, and you're like, now we've got Trump and Biden as our choices.
And
okay.
I would have chosen the blacksmith from back then to be president as opposed to like that would have been a better choice than.
Dude, I'd probably choose any of these actors that played in the movie as.
It's like, can you imagine like bringing one of these dudes from back in time to the future and like, look what's happening, look what we have to choose from, and they're like, same old shit. Like, I'll catch you later.
Like, I'm gonna write like my life depends on, or like, write like you're running out of time. Like, actually, I'm just gonna go to sleep. This is too much.
Well, yeah, no, they'll just have they'll have somebody, and they're like, my intern is gonna write like there's no tomorrow, or like I'm running
my
out of time.
speechwriter.
Grievances. So again, you're gonna find out. You're gonna watch this, and you're gonna probably start doing some research, and you're gonna find that there's a number of inaccuracies in the depiction of
WatchMojo had a really good thing. It
Hamilton's
came
life.
out a couple of days ago. Yeah, they've got a top 10 of the things that they got right and the things that they got wrong, right?
Yes. And there's a number of them on there. We're not going to run through it right now, but definitely we may put something in the link or in the whatever it is.
Description below.
Yeah, description below. Yeah, there you go. One of my grievances was that I felt like, and again, so much of like movie anything is taking, like, jokes are the same way, right? You take a joke or you take something and then you blow it way out of proportion and it makes it that much more real. Yeah. And so like one of the things was, yes, okay, so his father ditched his family. His mother died at a very early age. He went to work for this guy who traded sugar off of the Nieve, I think, Nieve. Nieve is the name of the island in the South Indies. British-controlled island. So he's working for this guy, and they act like they made his hardship there, like, and his getting to America, like, oh, I worked and saved and did all these things, and kind of like he says, pulled myself up from my bootstraps. And the reality there, from the good information that I have, is that he was his boss, and the people that he surrounded himself with were so taken by his intellect, by his hard work and ethic, that they're like, hey, we're gonna send this kid to America. They wrote letters to colleges to get him accepted in America. And so it was really, Alexander Hamilton from an early age was being groomed. Now, again, he had some serious things to overcome. He wasn't from lineage, he was a bastard child. A lot of those things, those are absolutely true. But I just want to say that the way that he was cared for once he reached America was not like, it wasn't what they portrayed it to be. Like he had a much better status already because he was spoken for, which is, I didn't realize that in colleges that was the way that it used to be. Like, you had to be appointed to go there. It wasn't about your grades. Like, somebody really smart, alumnist or somebody had to write a letter and say, hey man, I think that this guy's really bright. And then also all of these things were Christian institutions. I mean, like John Witherspoon, one of the founders of the Constitution, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, like this guy and Alexander Hamilton, they kind of had a war going on when he went to school there. I can't remember if it was Princeton or one of those, but he goes to school there. But this is like like John Witherspoon is like the most righteous dude you can imagine, like blemishless record, but again, it's just, a lot of the faith wasn't brought into it, and I don't want to say why should it be, except for this is part of who these guys were,
Sure.
And it's part of what helped found
And probably, ultimately, morally speaking, what could have possibly, because they had the overtones, and I feel like they did a good job, honestly, for being Broadway, Disney / production, that they didn't get too morally preachy one way or the other in politics, which I thought was pretty cool. Obviously, they have their the little drops in there and stuff, but that probably his faith maybe is what led to Hamilton being more pro-abolitionist and stuff.
Yes.
But I feel like that they had, and like you said, they made some comments of the immigration thing, which is cool, because I feel like that is the American dream, right? That but at that time we were all immigrants too. We maybe came over not as immigrants as far as we were British, and then we rebelled, but to the Native Americans, we'd all be immigrants. None of them were over here you've been here.
Yeah. It wasn't even, he didn't even immigrate to America because it wasn't America yet.
No, exactly, right? I mean, you can't really immigrate to a place that you founded, right? So, I feel like that. But again, that leads to the idea of building that inclusive atmosphere, which I feel like America should be. That you can come over here, start from, even if you don't have a family connection,
right?
That you can still build your way up and leave a huge legacy like Alexander Hamilton did.
Yeah, and even he said he got all that stuff. He got all that endorsement from the people around him because they saw him working hard there,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So, at the end of the day, he still did deal with some stuff, did kind of pull himself up by his bootstraps.
He still overcame it, yeah.
And the thing is, for me, that kind of stuff, all those discrepancies about, what was fact and what isn't, is forgivable for me. Because I think when we're talking about anything to do with history, the kind of stuff that I saw in Hamilton, I was excited to figure out what was truth and what wasn't. I knew it wasn't all 100% true. Mm-hmm. And I think if you go in thinking that that's what's going on, then you're going to be disappointed to find out that some of the stuff is not inaccurate. Some things got left out. But what it did for me is I was watching that with someone, and I kept asking, okay, well, did that really happen? Did he really flirt with his wife's sister? Did he really do that stuff? And I was like, yeah, that did happen, or no, it didn't happen. It was back and forth. And so what it propelled me to do is to actually go back and look, because I didn't know very much about Alexander Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't been in school in a long time, and I just don't look up on history and stuff. So it propelled me to want to go back and find out what was really there. And I think anytime we have a movie or a production like that where it minces history, we have to be able to do that. There was a big complaint about that with Oliver Stone's JFK, where even the way that he edited the film made it seem like we were seeing 100% truth. And there was a mixture between what was actually truth and what was actually false and not true about the whole story. And I believed for a long time after watching that movie, oh, all this stuff happened and all these things were true. And then you go back and research it and find out, no, that was kind of added in by Oliver Stone because he has a predisposition to believe that it was a conspiracy.
Sure.
Not all of it was factual.
Right.
You know?
And while I completely agree with you on that, and because I'm the same way that even while I'm watching it, I'm like searching stuff. Is Aaron Burr black? Like, little things like that, minute details. But but I think that just to play the historian advocate over here, I think that there is a little bit of a danger in that, especially when we live in a society where people, old and young, people copy and paste memes on the internet that they have no research on, that somebody just typed it up on Photoshop, put somebody's face on there, and we immediately drink it in and say, oh yeah, this is... like those Use the Force Harry, and it has like a picture of Jean-Luc Picard, and they're like, it's just like all the mixing of. I think that it inherently runs in a little bit of a danger that it's like, you get 5 more generations down, and some kids watch Hamilton, and they're like, all of our founding fathers were black? Dope. Like, that's really cool. And, I mean, again, not to say that really makes that big of a difference.
It could be considered subversive, though.
It could be subversive, and, and obviously slavery was a horrible thing, but a lot of that would get confusing to a young person now that's like, whoa, Thomas Jefferson was black and he owned slaves? Like, that's not cool. So I don't know, it kind of muddies the water. And that's it. And again, because I'm more on your side as far as like, it inspires people to do the research and to dig.
Well, it should.
Hopefully.
It should. Because you're always going to get people that are just like that. They're just going to take it for face value and say, oh, well, that stuff really did happen when it didn't. And they're not going to do the research, or they're not going to go and talk to somebody that might know. But that's just where we kind of have, like, that's that double-edged sword. That's that tricky thing. I think that it should propel anytime we're talking about history. Like, when you go back and watch the Lincoln movie with Daniel Day-Lewis, like, you should go back and research some of the things that you see there and not just take it for face value.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, in the world that we live in, and it doesn't really matter about how old you are, because young people do it and really old people do it too, where they just post a meme that they think is real and it's not. And we do. I agree that we have to be careful with that kind of stuff.
And ultimately, these are works of entertainment first.
If you're going to it to get a history lesson, you're starting off on the
You always got to remember that there's a lot of entertainment, and there's a lot of stuff that we just don't know, and they kind of have to fill in. And kind of say, okay, well, maybe this happened. We don't know for sure.
Correct. And then there's movies like The Patriot with Mel Gibson, where you're like, basically, there were all this is based on is that there was a Revolutionary War.
Basically.
Outside of that, everything else is pretty.
Based on a historical event.
Right. Exactly.
For sure.
Hamilton was an excellent production. I really 100%. Were there subversive elements in it? Yes, I think there was. They spoke a lot to the immigration thing, and that's all good and fine because that's important, I guess.
Well, and again, like I said before, it leads to that element of inclusivity, and that it's all of our America, which I think, which I don't think is subversive when taken in that context. I think when it leads to being misleading, that's when it's subversive.
Yeah, but then you have to determine: is it meant? Is the undertone or is the agenda to be misleading? And I didn't get that from this production from Oliver Stone, and I love the movie. Oliver Stone's JFK is meant to be misleading. The way that he cuts things and makes it seem like we're seeing footage that isn't actually footage.
Sure.
He's meaning to be misleading on that. and that's part of the purpose, and that's where it's like really dangerous. You know, I didn't get that from Hamilton. I didn't get that they were trying to be misleading or that they were trying to shed a certain light. They were just talking about inclusivity, and yes, they warped facts and changed things around, and some of it was for entertainment value, and some of it was just to fit whatever they were trying to do.
No, and I think most of the points, like his sister-in-law being all about him and wanting to get with him, that was like not true, but it was there for entertainment value,
Right.
You know, and it added an extra element to the story. She had some cool songs because of it, you know.
Right.
And him being like a womanizer and stuff. That it's like he cheated, but he wasn't just this total hound.
Yeah.
I want to know why they didn't include his daughter losing her mind after their son Philip died. Like that was another tragedy that he had to endure, and they didn't even mention that. And I thought,
that is interesting.
That's kind of
Angelica.
There was already so much in that 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, so
so
that
add
would have
just
been
another character.
Well,
another
and
35
ultimately,
minutes of them.
and I feel
Maybe.
like that it was about more his part in the forming of America, not necessarily. I mean, it definitely had a large aspects of his personal life, but I feel like they did a good job of balancing his personal life and the forming of America.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
and with the forming of America being the forefront.
Yes.
Well, sure, because that's the only reason that history remembers him.
No,
There's
exactly.
countless people
Right.
who died during that.
Yeah,
We didn't hear about
exactly.
any of them, but
Yeah.
it's because he
I
was...
didn't know about the whole duel with his son and the duel song. I don't know. I'm just saying that was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Like the thing about like the law and the rules of the duel,
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
that, like the 10 Commandments of the
Yes.
duel. Like
Yeah.
that was
Holy
a
cow.
dope song, and it was fantastic. King George, his part was great.
Yeah.
Overall, like out of 5 stars, what would you give it?
5.
Yeah. It's going to be really hard not to say 5.
Yeah, no, I mean I would agree.
I already gave it 2
think-
thumbs up earlier.
Yeah,
So
you're right. Oh,
Yeah,
you got
can't
2
go back
thumbs
now.
up. You're right.
Can't
It's like
backtrack.
2 thumbs up, Matthew Boyer. 5 stars, also Matthew Boyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I would love to meet the entire cast. They did a fantastic job. I think it was
very talented.
Emotionally empowering. It's so great.
Yeah, right. No, man, and that chick at the end when she's like all crying, she's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, my face is all like torn up. I'm like, oh man, like you felt her, you know? It was.
Yeah, and his performance as Hamilton was great, man. Like when he's so broken over his son being dead, like his face just completely embodied everything about what you might feel.
Yeah,
like if
yeah.
your son,
No, great
19
actors.
years of life just thrown away over some duel. And,
Yeah.
and because of arrogance and pride.
Well, and that
from our production.
the whole song up to the beat is like, oh, I'm not going to throw away my shot, and he told his son to throw away his shot, and that's what got him killed in the duel. Is that he's like, I'm not going to shoot you, and his buddy's like, I don't really want to shoot you either, but then he ends up shooting him anyway. But in the play, they make it like immediate. And then he, at the end, ultimately throws away his shot as well.
Yes.
But to lay his life down for another person, which I feel like is honorable,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, I mean, I would say definitely go watch it. It is
Yes.
certainly not a waste of time. It's
not.
culturally relevant, both back then, historically speaking, and to what's going on in the country right now, I think.
We did mention that there's singing in it, though, so you've been
Yeah,
warned.
it is a musical.
It's 100% singing. There might be 1 or 2 spots where they say something, but the rest of it is singing or it's rapping. It's incredible.
But they say it in that singing tone, like, Favio, where dost thou come? And it's like, and they,
Yeah.
go
yeah,
back.
yeah, right. Well, and they had a good humor in it and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely go check it out.
100%.
Definitely let us know in the comment area whether you think we're totally spot on or if you just hated it.
Could be idiots.
Yeah.
3 white guys talking about it, you know? Like, coulda-
Well, that
Right.
makes our opinion automatically wrong.
Yeah. Right.
So,
well, and
we're
next
okay
week
with
we
it.
are going to cover Straight Outta Compton. And
Oh.
Good movie.
right? If they would have made Straight Outta Compton with like the cast from The Departed, do you think more white people would have gone to see it?
I don't know.
It's possible.
No, it's possible.
Let
All
us know.
Y'all take care. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.